Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we're going to talk about friends with benefits. How do you make it work? There's a real story I'll unpack today that was sent into writemac.com. If you've got a story you want to share, send it into writemac.com. If you want to book a live coaching session with myself on Zoom, an hour, 2 hours, that's available also. If you don't find it useful or helpful, I will give you a refund. I stand on that. So today, it's going to be interesting because this is a topic I've talked about before, which I've talked about a lot of things on this channel. But in this specific case, in this specific situationship or story that was sent in, it's always a little bit different from your perspective, from your narrative. And so today we're going to unpack this a little deeper. So number one, why it works. So if you're in a friends with benefits situation, you're thinking, well, how can it work? Or why does it work? Number one, it's intimacy without commitment. Let's think about that for a minute. So you're someone that wants intimacy, however that may be. This is a human need, right? And you don't have to commit. You don't feel like you're committed. But number two, it's better than a random. It's someone that's your quote unquote friend, someone you're comfortable with, someone that you feel is safe. They're not going to steal from you. They're not going to be a stalker. You've known them for a little while. You got some background on them. But you're like, this isn't someone I'd want to be with forever because they're a little adventurous. They're a little wild. They're a little crazy. They're a little conservative. They're a little slow. They're a little bit whatever. But you know deep down, they're not the one. They're not your soulmate. This is a friend. But you're kind of attracted to them. And a lot of times, maybe always with friends with benefits, there's someone that likes the other person more. And the other person knows that. And they're like, let's just keep this friends with benefits because I know if I get an opportunity with someone that I really want to be with, that I'm really attracted to, or my ex comes back or something like that, I don't want to hurt you. So as long as someone's upfront about it, okay, like this is what it's going to be. So these are the times it works. Intimacy without commitment. And some people are in a stage in their life where they don't want commitment because they're in a PhD program, because work comes first, because they're starting a new business, because they just got out of a divorce and they don't want to be in a new relationship. There's all kinds of reasons. As long as you know the reason, that kind of helps, right? Now, better than a random, right? So people that hate the idea of being on dating apps, maybe you go with a friend that you're not highly attracted to. And I keep coming back to this attraction thing because I feel like most people that settle for friends with benefits, not always, someone's not as attracted as they would like to be if it was going to be a girlfriend, boyfriend, committed relationship. That being said, there's some people that just like this scenario. They've done it more than once, and so they ride with it. Number three, not interested in a full-time relationship for a variety of reasons. So let me dig a little deeper on this. They could have a past trauma. They've been hurt really bad. They could have just come out of a dramatic relationship. You have to know the reason. You also need to accept the reason. So then when you're friends with benefits, you're not sitting there, well, you didn't tell me this or that. You know exactly why you're in this. Number four, be upfront in the beginning with the rules of engagement. So you're in this friends with benefits. You're kind of being casual about it. You've hooked up numerous times. Someone who rules the relationship, cares less about the relationship, has stated like, look, let's just be friends. The other person's like, oh, sure, that'll be great. We can do that. But just to narrow it down, make sure that if someone says, but I'm going to still see other people or I'm going to leave the door open, you know that up front so you're not hurt later on and there's not someone feeling like they were misled. Number five, there will be a pattern here. So you'll notice it in the story that was sent in. A lot of times friends with benefits, they don't do spontaneous fun things on the weekends. It's usually like on Friday when you're off and I'm off and we both are looking for someone, let's meet up then. And that becomes a regular thing. It's almost like you're scheduled in with friends with benefits. And you're only going to do certain things that friends would do, right? Okay. So a friends with benefits situation is going to be limited. And eventually, like I said, there will be a pattern where someone will say, oh, would you go with me to this wedding? And the person's like, oh, no, I don't want to do a wedding thing and go public with you, right? Now they've created a pattern where like they're letting you know like there's a limit to what we're doing. And like I said, if it's friends with benefits and every time you meet up, it's at their house or your house and you're never going out in public, I don't want you to take that personal and feel like they're embarrassed to be with you, but recognize that there's a pattern here where they don't want to claim you. Okay. And it could be for a variety of reasons. Number 6, know why and accept that. So know why you're in this friends with benefits and know why they're in the friends with benefits so that you're very crystal clear. You don't go into it kind of foggy, smoky, because I have people, we kind of started out friends with benefits. We were kind of dating. People that say like they're kind of, what does that even mean? We're kind of dating? Do they think you're dating? Because to me, I'd be like, well, I'd like to know what the other person thinks. Why do you want to tell people you're dating? Kinda. If I ask the same person the same question or the other person the same question, would they say that? Would they say you're friends with benefits? Because I think the worst case scenario, and I'll get into that in a moment, why it doesn't work, is when someone's embarrassed to be with you in public. That's probably the harshest friends with benefits. I don't think that's the case in the story I'm going to unpack, but it does happen. Number 7, if you don't normally do friends with benefits and they do, you will probably get feelings. Okay, so if you're the type of person that like, that's not a regular thing you do, but you've agreed to it because they wanted to do it, you're probably going to catch some feelings and you're probably going to be disappointed because you're used to relationships coming together and elevating to a next tier. And that's what's hard. If you've been in monogamous long-term relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, partner, then you're used to a next tier. So, right, you start dating, you maybe become official boyfriend and girlfriend, you see each other more regularly, you visit each other at work, you introduce family and friends, another tier. Friends and benefits is just staying here. Friends and benefits, you wouldn't be introduced to mom and dad, you wouldn't be introduced to as many friends. You see what I'm saying? So you're staying at a same level. And if you're used to changing levels, it could be uncomfortable. Why it doesn't work. And this could be hurtful if you feel like this is a case with you. You're a holding place for a better candidate. Okay, they feel like they can do better. They feel like they're not as attracted to you. They feel like you don't make enough money. They feel like you're not the one. You're not their soulmate. They don't like your age. They don't like something about you, but they're okay with hooking up because you're safe and you're comfortable. Okay? You should be able to sense that. Now, if you go into a friends with benefits and you're like, maybe I can change their mind, good luck. Number 2, who cares less will leave. So in any relationship, someone cares a little bit less. Someone has a little bit more confidence. And they're going to be the ones that leave you like, I don't want to do this friends with benefits. And it's a little bit cleaner to them because it's like, I told you, we're never official. Number 3, do they think they can do better and you think they are great? Big conflict here. Deep down, you're in friends with benefits. You're like, I can do better. This is equivalent to their holding place for a better candidate. These are things that are subconsciously there that people probably aren't even aware of, but why they settle for friends with benefits. So they think they can do better and you think they are great. Like you think, man, I'm so attracted to this person. This is going to grow into something. Now, I've had a client in the past where he felt like they were dating, but she would never take him out in public. And they had incredible intimacy. She was rich beyond. Like she wasn't just a millionaire. She was worth like 30, 40 million. She was worth a lot. She was ultra successful, an egomaniac. And basically, from what he divulged to me, she thought she was better than him. But she liked spending time with him, but she didn't want to go public with him. So the telling thing was they all went out. It was one of her best friends and her best friend's boyfriend. And the couple asked, well, what are you guys? And she's like, oh, we're just friends. And he was like, I thought we were dating. Right there, What she was conveying is, I don't want to go public with you. I think you're better than me. I think I'm better than you. Harsh pill to swallow is what it is. This happens sometimes, right? So those are situations that will reveal themselves over time. He had called me up. He's like, what is this? It's like, bottom line is, and he goes, when we have intimacy, it's great. You know, she's flowing. Another, like, I know it. But she thought she was better than him. She thought she could do better than him, and she didn't want to claim him in public. That's one of the worst situations to be with friends with benefits if you want to be official or if you're going to get your feelings hurt. On the other end, you could just accept it and you go, we're just hookup buddies, right? And you need to leave the door open to meet other people. Number 4, friends with benefits, it will end at some point. It isn't marriage. It isn't a monogamous official relationship. So at some point, it's probably going to end sooner than later. There will be an expiration date on it. You rarely see people that are like, we've been friends with benefits for 5 years now. Good luck, right? Someone gets hurt. So it's just know it's a short fix. That's all. I think people that tend to have that avoidant personality or don't need a relationship do much better in these situations. And if you're not one of those people, then it's going to be tough. Number 5, you get disappointed that you couldn't make it more. So that's why it doesn't work. You deep down, you're like, wow, we really got something here. We've been growing. That person says they've done friends with benefits. They love friends with benefits. They told you from the get-go. They've done this multiple times and you've never done it and you feel like you're going to turn them around. No bueno. They've already disclosed and you feel like, oh no, it'll be different this time. Most people don't change in that way with patterns like that. Number 6, you feel misled or you feel like there was mixed signals or miss signals. Again, I had a typo here when I typed this out on the comments. And if you feel misled, I mean, what are you looking for? It's friends with benefits. That means that at any given moment, and by the way, you're not their best friend, right? So you're setting yourself up if you're sensitive to that, or you really start to cop feelings, or you start to get a little bit serious and you're like, oh, they misled me. It's like, if you were friends with benefits, they did not mislead you. If they told you from the get-go, look, we're never going to be more than this. And a lot of women do this because women will settle for this when they know it's a guy that they can do better than, but they're just in a comfortable, safe situation where it's a guy that they work with or a guy that they know that's really into them, that's going to give them validation. It's going to make them feel good. It's going to maybe take them out to dinner and listen to their problems, those kinds of things. But really, they won't want to claim this guy, and they know there's no future. So they're like, okay, we could do friends with benefits, but don't get your feelings involved. And if the guy's really attracted to her, it'll just draw him in closer. So just be aware of that if you're sensitive to that. If you're not, and you're dating multiple women and you're experienced with friends with benefits, then you might be okay with this. All right, take a breath. Truth of love, the great clutch. How are you doing, my friend? In Spanish, friends with benefits is amigos con derechos, which translates to friends with rights. I never knew that. That's cool, man. How is it different? Friends with rights or with friends with benefits? Sam Lujan, how are you? The question would be, good. Good is good. In Thai, good means D. D, D, D. We got to talk sometime. I was just thinking about you, Clutch. I want to do, and I'll email you about this. I want to do a live stream with you when you're available about attachment theory. I want to go through it again. About some things, dating versus when you're in the relationship with attachment theory, and do a deep dive with that because I know you're pretty passionate about attachment theory. And I'm always, attachment theory. Because my perspective with attachment theory is people use it a lot post breakup, conveniently to diagnose people of why they're wrong and get away from the story or the problems. We talked about it once before, but I want to talk about it again in a different way. I want to talk about it, for example, if you can identify attachment theory boxes or labels while you're dating that will benefit you. Because the problem that I see a lot, the problem what I see a lot is in the breakup, they obsess over it and they feel like they figured everything out because they know the person's attachment theory and breakups. And I'm like, well, what happened? Right? But I wonder, is it more useful while you're dating someone, you're learning someone, to know some of those things then, rather than discover it while you're in the breakup process 2-3 years down the road or a year down the road, and you start, oh yeah, I just knew it. She's dismissive, avoidant, and this is why this and this happened. Would it be more beneficial to have that in your back pocket and not be so passionate about that label, but have that idea that they might be an avoidant or anxious when you're dating rather than upfront? Does that make sense? Because I don't think we talked about it in that aspect before. I think we talked about it in a different way. And beating a dead horse, I mean, I've made 1,000 videos on breakups, 1,000 live streams, so it's already there, bro. You know what I'm saying? And recently I just read some new material on it that gave me a different outlook on it. Yeah, I'd be down. I just started posting videos again. Okay, I just did a video on that life coach that dumped her husband with cancer. Is that a public thing? Or because you're like, that life coach that dumped her husband with cancer? What's up, Bri Flint? Good eye, Mike. Do you consider listening from my... Oh, well, thank you for letting me know. Do you consider Australia a continent or an island? Yeah, there was a big social media backlash on that one. You know, cancel culture and such. How would people know this story? By the way, I don't know the story at all. Just blindly knowing the title or the narrative of it. It's like there's got to be more than just that person getting cancer, right? And ironically, it's like people that judge those situations, because before I did what I do now, it was so easy to be like, oh, when you hear about a couple breaking up that's friends of the family or colleagues, you automatically have something in your head of who was wrong or who was right based on one piece of, like, they broke up and he moved away and he's not seeing the kids on the weekends, and everyone's like, oh, he's an asshole. It's like, you don't know the whole 5-7 years, right? You don't know. The reason why I asked that, Riflin, is that I think years back I said something. This was years back. I said, oh, Australia's an island. And the guy goes, Australia's not an island. It's a continent. And I was thinking to myself, okay, got me. Because it is a continent, right? Because she promoted her story on New York Post. People, the whole backlash was stating she dumped him because he was constantly pitying himself. Oh, that's tough. Good answer. I knew that would get your attention. What continent isn't an island? I thought the same thing. It was, it's funny is when people make arrogantly like, oh, how could you think it was an island? It's whatever you want it to be, exactly. The Earth's flat, supposedly, too, right? Who knows? All right, so let me get into the story that was sent in. If anyone else has a story they want to send in, go to writemac.com and you can send it in there. If you want to book a session, go ahead and do that. If not, go ahead and throw this a like today. Someone just told me recently, you got to ask for those likes and those subscribes. Okay. But the story today will be about friends with benefits. And like I said, I've already reviewed this. Feel free in the comments if you've had a friends with benefits situation. How did it work out for you? Was it good? Was it awkward? Was it what made it friends with benefits? Was it that you weren't that attracted to them, so that's why you settled for that? Was it that you knew that they could never be a partner, girlfriend, or boyfriend, but you thought, hey, they're attractive, so let's roll with this? Or was it just timing in your life that you didn't want someone officially? I think that's very common for people in their 30s and late 20s. It's like they're like just out of a relationship. They don't want that. All that being said, friends with benefits can grow into something, but normally when it's disclosed from the beginning, there's a reason and someone gets left held in the bag, just like LDRs. All right, so let's get into this. Let me pull this up. I was seeing a girl for 3 months. She is 35, never had a single serious relationship, just friends with benefits type relationships and short ones. She pointed out that all guys that fell for her, eventually she ghosted them. So right there, she's revealing to you, this is great you wrote this out, because you kind of just probably thought like, oh, whatever, that's cool, she's attractive, or we're dating. She just laid out for you her playbook, her pattern. Okay, she's 35 years old. When you're 35 and you have a pattern in relationships, it's hard to break it. She's also a little bit proud of that because she's controlling the situation. I wouldn't be surprised if her parents had a divorce when she was young, or her first serious relationship, she got her heart broken, whether that was, at 18 or 19 or whatever. But the idea that at 35, all her serious relationships have been friends with benefits and short ones, that's something that she's controlling. And she's also divulging that to you like, hey, look, this is what I do. Guess what? You're next. She pointed out all guys that fell for her, eventually she goes to them. You're next. I've talked about this. Listen to people. They're telling you what they do to other people. They'll do it to you. I got involved with her. No sleepovers, no hanging out outside, just Netflix, dinner, and sex. Some guys would go, yes, that sounds great. She didn't want to hang out outside with me, and she didn't want me to sleep over. Well, that's a huge red flag. Bottom line is, I don't know if you're friends with benefits or just a buddy, right? I slept over only 3 times, but she said she couldn't fall asleep with me next to her. So there might be some kind of trauma there in the past. I'm not telling you to dig for that. It might be deeper than just you. Okay. She started to warm up, and eventually she said we were more than friends with benefits, more like dating. So you waited for her to say that. She says that, going back to she's 35 years old with a trail of friends with benefits that when she gets close, she pushes them away. I would just tread lightly with a comment like that. Okay. So don't get all excited. For a few weeks ago, she said she was having doubts. What she wanted from this, that she doesn't have feelings. So bottom line, she's running the whole thing from the get-go. This is what I do. Hey, I've decided that you can sleep over. Hey, I don't sleep well. I mean, you're at her beck and call. You are in her frame. Okay, if that's comfortable for you, fine. But it's puppet strings. She doesn't have feelings, just like. So a few weeks ago, she said she was having doubts. What she wanted from this, and she doesn't have feelings, just like the sex and my company. And if she ever come to the conclusion I'm not the guy for her future, that she couldn't be friends with benefits with me forever. So friends with benefits does have an expiration date. She's being honest with you. A week later, she said she feels I want more from this than her. And this is starting to be a problem because she is very busy, and seeing me twice a week is taking too much of her time. 3 days before she left me. All right, so right there, great you wrote this. You're friends with benefits, and you're using verbiage that's conveying that you think you're more than that, because you're saying 3 days before she left me. If she was a friend with benefits, did she ever have you, or did you ever have her for her to leave you? Think about that for a minute. You're using a different kind of language than she is. I called her twice, she didn't answer, and then in the evening I called her 3 times, and she finally answered and was very angry that I blew up her phone. I think she figured out I'm insecure. Well, don't put yourself in that box right away, okay? Because You've been in friends with benefits for a while. You handled those rules and regulations that she put out there. Now that after you said that she says, oh, it feels like more like dating, you're disappointed. You want some answers. So yeah, is it a good move that you called her twice or you called her 3 times? No, not at all. But if this is right from the fresh start of you realizing that and you want to know what's going on, okay, I wouldn't do that, but I wouldn't just automatically say you're insecure. I would say that you're looking probably for a little bit more answers to what's going on. Now, if she slams the door on your face and says, I'm angry and this is just too busy for me, those are your answers. You got to accept them. She finally answered, was very angry and blew up on her phone. I think she figured out I'm insecure, create drama, and turned her off. Like I said, if she pulled a 360 from friends with benefits and we're more like dating to like, yeah, I'm not interested, you probably wanted a few more answers. You're allowed to do the call 2 times or 3 times once. Okay? If you start doing it every day or you start emailing or you show up at work, you've gone way too far. The minute she answered the phone and you got that 3rd call and you got your answer, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Now's the time when you're going to come off really insecure. Let it drop off a cliff, my friend. Sunday, she called to end things. Of course, she's going to end things because she's in control. I broke no contact a week later saying I'd be willing to take it slow. And she replied, it's not going to work out, slow or not slow. And then things went too fast, too serious. So too fast, too serious is friends with benefits, hooking up 2 or 3 times a week. Okay. Not everyone would agree with that. Doesn't want that and no more friends with benefits with me. It won't work out. Okay, so you got to accept that. You got to move on, move forward, head high, keep your self-respect and your dignity in your balls. Okay? That's it. I waited another week, sent her a happy birthday text, apologized for not accepting her decision. See, okay, so this is where you're getting insecure times 10. She slammed the door on your face twice and then you're knocking again. Wait a minute. Let me say sorry for anything I've done to you in the past. This is ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Done. Okay. Sending her a birthday text and with an apology, you don't have anything to apologize from what you've told me. Okay. I accept her decision. She replied, thanks, no hard feelings. All right. So you got your answer. You feel like, oh, I've accepted the thing. Okay, fine. Fine. Now leave it alone. What now? No contact until she reaches out? No contact till the end of time. You're done. So this is what happens a lot of times in situations like this. It's like, so I'll do no contact and then they'll come back. In this particular case, I don't usually say this up front, but it's highly probable that you don't get back together. You were friends with benefits. She doesn't like committed relationships. Anything that smells of insecurity or you wanting something more, she slams the door. So leave her alone. There's a slight possibility she might call you down the road, but she's told you 3 times now. No. And each time she's been more official about it. She told you from the get-go, which is the most telling thing. Hey, I'm 35 years old. I've always had friends with benefits. And then here's my playbook. Literally. I usually ghost the guys after they get feelings. Let me just reread that because I'll just pull that up one more time. She pointed out all guys that fell for her, eventually she ghosted them. She ghosted them. You're next. It sucks. It's hard to swallow. It's why you write out your story. You're like, oh shit. So everyone wants to be special. Everyone does. Me too. Right? I'm with you. I want to be the best coach on YouTube. I love when people give me comments or compliments or say something. I love it. I'm with you. Right? This is one of those things. It's not personal. It's her playbook. It's what she does. She told you. This is what I do. And this is why when you start filtering, when you go out on dates, it's fine. You guys had it sounds like you had great intimacy. Great intimacy. You guys met up 2 or 3 times a week. That's actually a sweet spot, no pun intended. That's a sweet spot for a lot of people that tell me they have great sexual intimacy with a partner. They're like, we meet 3 to 4 times a week tops. You have a little bit of space in between. You build up that juice. You build up that tension. You miss each other a little bit. It's great. You start seeing each other 7 days a week. It's like, oh, man. You wore the same sweatpants for 3 days? What's going on here? Wow, you didn't brush your teeth right away in the morning? List goes on, right? So you had a good moment. You caught feelings, right? You caught the feelings. It's okay. That happens. She told you exactly what she does with other guys, and for some reason you thought it might be different. That's totally understandable. Now, when you look back, you're like, I'm no fool. It's not that I'm not special. This is what she does in relationships. Fine. Thing about friends with benefits, especially when someone's not taking you out publicly, whether you're the woman or the man, you know, they just want to meet at their house. I don't want you to think that they always think they're better than you, but there's something to that. Like, let's just keep it at our house. Right? So he did send me a follow-up email the same day to add some context to it, which is good because sometimes people write their story and they're like, oh, I don't want to write too much. Write as much as you want when you send in your story to me. The more context, the better. The more details, the better I can give you advice. Okay? Perhaps I should add a bit to my story for more context. We met always twice a week at her place during those 3 months we were together. Okay, so just to put the narrative out here, and this is why it's good to write your story. We were together. So right there, you had a different... I'm sure if she was writing this story out, she wouldn't say we were together. She would be anti to say that. But in your head, you're like, the 3 months we were together. Not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying your perspective and hers are incongruent. They're like this. Oh, we were together for 3 months. She would say, no, we were just friends with benefits, or we just hooked up. She would often cook for me. We would watch TV and have lots of intimacy. One time in 3 months, she took me to her best friend's house for dinner. One time. So that could mean something, but if you guys never did anything else, that sounds like this might sound counterintuitive. She might be the insecure one. I felt like she really liked me. I think she really did like you. But this is what she does with guys she really likes. She keeps them at arm's distance and controls the situation. And then when they show any anxious, I want more behavior, she told you, she ghosts them. Shuts the door. There's something from her past. There's some gatekeeper, some narrative when she was younger that she's doing this and it works for her. Okay. I felt like she really liked me, would sometimes sit on my lap for hours and just staring at my eyes, cuddling and kissing me. Okay, I'm with you. That sounds great. That sounds special. She told me she thinks she has a mental block. That's what I would call probably dismissive, avoidant, possibly. And I think she fears closeness and ends all her flings when things become too serious. There you go. You're correct. The mental block, I call them gatekeepers. There's some story, narrative, or moment in her life where she saw her caretakers, her parents, her grandparents, whoever was around, model something like this, or she had a really bad relationship that ended dramatically. And sometimes it could just be like a 6-month first love. The person, left their heart on a clothesline and they just locked up after that. So if she probably went to therapy about this, she could probably unlock it quite quickly. If we did some hypnotherapy or we talked about things, we went through her life, her living life review, which is something I do. If we did that, we would probably unlock, oh, that's what it's from. So there's definitely a mental lock there. But she's comfortable with it because she's always in control. Why would someone always want to be in control of relationships? Because they've been hurt before, probably. Or they witnessed someone else that was hurt bad. I made a mistake. I see it now. I over pursued her. No, this is great that you wrote this, bud. No, you didn't make a mistake. No, no, no. I over pursued her. No, you over pursued her at the end, but you think you were wrong here. This was inevitable. So you guys could have been together 6 months, 8 months, 9 months. You could have handled that last situation where she was like, I don't know. I kind of think that it's being more than I thought. I don't want to see you anymore and I'm too busy. You could have not called her. You could have played it cool. She could have seen you on a Facebook post with another girl on your motorcycle. You could have done everything right, everything that every YouTube person tells you to do, and she still would be who she is, which is someone that doesn't want long-term official monogamous relationships. She likes friends with benefits. She told you that. The minute it goes to a different direction, she puts up the wall. So when you say I made a mistake, the only mistake you made, right, is overlooking the fact that this was going to be more, or you were going to be different than those other guys that she mentioned. You know, she's 35 years old. She never had an official relationship. This is how she runs things, right? It's the same thing if you met someone, they run a business, and you're like, wow, you really run your business like that? You don't use QuickBooks, you don't have an accountant? No, I do everything by hand. I've done it for 100 years, and I've done this and that. It's like, why are you doing that? That's what they do. It's habitual. It's comfortable. So the idea that you made a mistake here, no. It just was never going to be a long-term thing. And so, like I said, you think that if you would have handled like, oh, if I didn't call her 3 times that day, I get it. Oh, it'd be different. Not really. Because if you didn't call 3 times that day, she still probably wouldn't call you back. If you only called 1 time and left her on red or whatever, she still might not call you back. Now, here's another scenario I'm going to break down for you, and it's good you wrote your story out, because this is sound, useful advice for a tailored story. If you would have went online, you'd have found all this stuff, and it wouldn't apply to your story, but I'm going to apply this directly to you. Listen, please. This is very helpful, useful information. You're like, I made a mistake. I over pursued. I texted her daily good morning messages here and there, and too much communication overall. Some women would love good morning messages. Some would. I feel like I never gave her much of a chance to miss me and also initiate dates and develop feelings for me in my absence. Dude, you met 2 times a week. You guys were having good intimacy, and then she just dropped the hammer like she did to every other guy. So when I say this was inevitable, you could have done everything right. You could have ran the textbook. I'm sure you read Corey Wayne's book 15 times. A lot of people have out there. It's like, oh, I did this, this, and this, and it didn't work. Nothing works on everyone. So the idea if you would have done things differently, it would have been different. I don't think so. She's one of those, if she is dismissive, avoidant, which you mentioned, possibly. If she's just someone that's got a mental block up for relationships, it wasn't your fault. It's what she does. And you know what? You had some good moments. You had great intimacy. You proved to yourself that you're a little stallion in bed, right? That's a good thing, right? She never mentioned that it was an intimacy problem. And she's mentioning something about, being too busy with work. Relationships don't come first to her, and she rules the relationship. We texted daily, but in the last 2 weeks, she didn't reach out and started complaining I text too much during working hours. Well, there you go. Work comes first. So just keep in mind, if you were going to stay in this relationship, you're going to be a doormat. So in order to get it right, everything's got to go through her. You're not in a relationship where you guys are meeting halfway on a bridge, or she's like, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I was really in a bad mood today. Sorry for, if you had a healthy relationship with her and you were giving her good morning text after having intimacy 2 or 3 times a week, and then she's just like, I'm too busy. Like I said, she's just giving you a stiff arm. Let her go. She's not the one for a monogamous long-term relationship. Now, if she goes and gets therapy and figures out this mental block, that's the problem. It's not you. Calling someone 3 times in a day after they want to break off friends with benefits, yeah, that's a bad move. Okay? I'm saying even if you made the right move in that moment, this would still happen over time because she's looking for an out. Do you understand that? She's filtering for an out. She told you that in the first sentence of what you wrote me. I always ghost them. You're them. It's tough. You're not going to rewrite that. And that's why it's really important when you start dating and stuff and you get this stuff right. Even if you do everything right, you still can break up. You go on like, oh man, I called too much. I did this. It still can happen. Circumstances are. So don't blame yourself on this one. Now, if you leave things alone for a while, maybe she calls you back up. Maybe in a month, maybe 3 weeks. Maybe she misses those texts in the morning, that attention and validation, right? I'm going to tell you right now, if you guys get back together, it'll be the same narrative. Because the number one thing that's there, that mental block. Like I said, I've talked about this many times. It's the biggest thing I've learned in coaching. It's like we all have gatekeepers. Gatekeepers are these little narratives we carry within us that make the decisions that we make, that make the choices that we make as individuals. And these little gatekeepers, right? They're different for different people. So it confuses the fuck out of you when you don't understand this stuff, right? It's like, why are some people scared of clowns? I never knew. There's people that are horrified of clowns. There's a large portion of the population that's like, they hate clowns. When they were a little kid, they went to a birthday party. Someone has paint all over their face and they're going like this. And some kids didn't think that was funny. So they screamed, they cried, they got upset. And now they're scared of clowns for the rest of their life. They can't even look at a painting. They can rework that. I can help you rework that with tapping, with hypnotherapy. I can help you through that. You can reframe that story that you're holding since you were 5 years old. And this woman, she nailed it. She gave you all the information of what happened. And you're thinking you did something wrong. No. Nope. This is inevitable. Because anytime someone starts to get serious or starts to get chummy, it's curtains for her. That's when she's like, all right, I'm going to ghost them. And she must be attractive enough to meet someone new. All right. Unfortunately, she's 35. When she gets to about her early 40s, mid 40s, probably just not going to be able to turn and burn them as easy. Chaley, how you doing? I'm good. My wife started. Wow, my wife. Good for you, Clutch. Huh? Says the man from the pickup artist community of 6 years. My wife. I'm really happy for you, my friend. My wife started off as a friend with benefits, at least in my eyes. In her eyes, she always liked me. We ended then, got back together. So pay attention. Even the dating coach goes back to the ex. Thanks for your perspective, my friend. And that's why I appreciate Clutch. The humility, right? The humility about it. Like, hey, look, I've done this. I'm not above that. At least in my eyes and in her eyes, she always liked me. We ended and then got back together. Would you agree with my assessment, Clutch, of what I said about this story? I think with friends with benefits, there's no one size fits all. So if someone's declaring, though, that this is what they do, then it's going to be pretty tough. And they're running the show all the time. If you start out with friends with benefits because there's maybe a lack of attraction in the beginning, I think, which is very common, or you started out colleagues, so you started out in different roles and saw each other differently, I believe that people can grow on you if that's the case, because attraction's fleeting. So if that's the case in the beginning where you're friends with benefits, but you notice that you start to get this chemistry, and it's starting to work in a different way and open up things, and that person's had monogamous relationships in the past, they've had relationships that worked, that were good, then there's a possibility of it. But I agree, nothing could have been done like me with my DAX that you helped me with. And it's, there's a lot of value. I know some people want to feel like, oh, if I would have done this differently. Man, that's one of the biggest things in your life that we all do shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? I would have bought the Bitcoin, right? I always say that. I was actually advised numerous times. I've been told, oh, yeah, do this. Oh, yeah, Bitcoin's great. Oh, cold storage wallet. Oh, great, right? But I don't know. Maybe I buy the Bitcoin and someone steals it from. I have a client that lost 4 Bitcoin. What is that now? It's like 120 grand or something. You know what I mean? Like, I wish I would have won the lottery. If I would have picked these numbers. Oh, I wish I would have bought this house. I wish I would have done this. Guess what? All paths lead to now. But the bottom line is, sometimes what you don't realize, if you would have done something different or made a different turn, you still aren't going to be in the land of the promise, or the promised land, excuse me. You're still not going to be bulletproof. You still don't know what happens if you made that decision one time over. You still don't know if you fucking, if you did everything right and didn't call her and did no contact right when she did that she would contact you immediately after. So shoulda, coulda, wouldas. Ride with who you are and what you do. Lead with good intentions and learn from your mistakes. People don't like to hear that, but that's the truth. And know, like I said, I've been doing this for 5 years, man. This is what I do. I see it all the time. I'm telling you, you didn't do too much wrong here. And savor the fact she's seeing you 2 times a week. You guys are having good intimacy. It was a good moment of 3 months in your life. Carry that over, because it would have ended sooner than 3 months if the intimacy wasn't good. That wasn't the problem. She's scared of commitment. She has a mental block about it. That has nothing to do with your moves or actions. Unfortunately for you, if you're not used to dealing with an individual like that, you suddenly feel like, do I smell bad? Is something wrong with me? Well, you start looking for all these answers. No, you're not the problem. You're not the one with the mental block. That situation, marriage from a friends with benefits, is not common though, for sure. I've had 2 friends with benefits that I absolutely knew with the first that I would never have anything other than that with him. The second I fell for, but it was never the right time for a relationship. I absolutely agree with everything that you just said. Well, thanks, Chaley. And so let me just ask you, Chaley, I absolutely knew the first that I would never have never in capital letters. Was it because you weren't attracted to them? Or was it because you were attracted to them, but they had nothing else going for them? I'm just curious. Savag Krumlian? What nationality is that? Just curious. Hey, coach, how are you? I'm good. Thank you for asking. I hope you're well, too. I broke up with my ex 3 months ago. I ended up blocking her. And all her friends. Do you think it was a good move? I really do want to be back with her. But okay, so let's just get this straight. I broke up with my ex 3 months ago, which sounds similar to the story because it was 3 months. I ended up blocking. So when you broke up, you were official or you were friends with benefits? Question number 1. I ended up blocking her and all her friends. Do you think it was a good move? Why did you break up with her? This is why you have to write your story and send it into writemac.com. It's so different than just asking questions, right, Clutch? The premise is, and it's a good one because I see it online all the time. Everyone answers these generalized questions. What happened, right? So if I'm going to give you some good advice, you need to give me a little bit more details. I really do want to be back with her, but as friends with benefits, is it possible? Well, friends with benefits, it depends on the individual's morals and values. So some people are like, I just don't do that. Right? So That's okay. That's just how some people are. Is she conservative? Is she not like that? Is that something you want, but you know she wouldn't do because you know her better than I do? Then, you're pissing in the wind. But if you, just because you want something doesn't mean there's some secret move. That's the thing about relationships that gets really mixed up online. I think Clutch would agree with me. It's like, oh, do this, this, and this, and you'll get them. Well, not if they've had a past trauma, or not if they don't like, like there's so many little elements, little gatekeepers and issues people have individually that hold them back from certain relationships. So, and you said I broke up with her. She didn't break up with you. So you'd have to be going back to her. And you have to keep in mind, when you're in a relationship and you want to go from relationship officially, we're together, to friends with benefits, it's 2 steps back. And you're also saying, hey, especially as a guy, and if you're in your early 20s to mid 20s, the guy's looking at it like, I want my cake and eat it too. I was there in my 20s. I used to be that. I was like that in a couple of relationships. It's like, oh, this would be great. We can just hook up and be friends with benefits. The problem with that is, if you agree to that, even if she didn't agree with that, which anything's possible, what you don't realize is you're leaving the door for her to meet someone else because you're not officially together. But if you were her boyfriend, girlfriend type, your mind's not going to accept that. She's like, oh, I've hooked up with another guy. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought we were seeing each other. It's like, no, we were friends with benefits. Not everyone's got the stomach for it. You got to have some serious confidence, right? There was an amazing episode of Frasier. I like Frasier. I like the dad, where it shows 2 paths. One where he wears a sweater, meets an amazing girl. Another where he doesn't, and the girl he met dated another guy. He ends up being dumped. The girl goes to the same guy, and 2 stories merge at the end. So you're basically saying, like, the woman was attracted to just the sweat. Like, that's the thing, is that you can be in a bad relationship and you can prolong it for another year or 2 years, but inevitably you're going to break up. Have you ever been there? Where you're like, hindsight's 2020. You review your relationship when you break up. You go through all the moments, all the things, and you're like, oh shit. That time at that dinner party when she said, yeah, it would be nice to be single. I remember just feeling like, what? Is that what she's thinking right now? And 3 months later, she says it to you when you break up. Like, those things come up. There's a book out, Clutch, and I haven't read it. I think it's by Matt Haig, Midnight Library. And the whole book, it's fictional. Some therapist friends told me about it. The whole book's fictional, but it basically, what it does is it maps out for this lady that I think means I don't know. I think she had a kid, and like I said, it's a fictional story. She had a kid and he had some problems, and she was complaining to her therapist or whoever was in the book that was the authority figure about this hard life she had with this kid, and that she never met someone. And so they created a scenario, I think with hypnosis or something like visualization, where she went and lived her life without that kid. And then she came to the conclusion, no, I'm happy that I had my kid. I'm happy. Like, a lot of times you look at like, oh, I did this wrong. It's like, no, it all happens for a reason. As cliche as that sounds, it's all happening for a reason. Because what's the alternative to that? Oh, like, I can't believe this happened to me. It's not fair. So much about life's not fair when you look at everyone else, right? What you don't know is you don't have everyone's, we have astrology charts. You don't have life charts of everyone. The beautiful thing in the work I do, I get to learn people on a deeper level about your whole life, about things you've went through, and it just immediately gives you a backpack of compassion for that individual by knowing just what they've been through in life. It's like, oh shit, I was just judging you on, just what I know and the way you dress, the way you talk. Wouldn't it be great if you can just go, here's my life. This is what I've been through. And hopefully they're telling the truth. He ends up being dumb. The girl goes to the same guy. Okay. 2 stories merge at the end. I just didn't like him like that. I was in back-to-back long-term relationships from 18 to 32. When I was single, and when I was single, I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do about sex now? I had a very high sex drive. Well, there you go. And don't like to sleep around. Well, there you go. You know, as long as you're letting that guy know, and some people can get hurt in those situations. Ricardo, how you doing? Did you get to hear the review? Since you're opening up that it was your story. Or did you come on late? I think his saying he wants to downgrade to Facebook friends with benefits, not. I think it could only work with an ex if you were absolutely over your emotions for the person. That's really tough. I think the person that wants friends with benefits, careful what you wish for, because you think you're going to be able to control that. And that's the part of friends with benefits that's tough, is that when you're in an official relationship, you at least hope that there's some kind of boundary there that you guys both agree that you're together. And like I said, there's another tier that you start introducing this. This is my girlfriend. This is my girlfriend. And that makes your partner, your girlfriend, some people, their boyfriend, it makes them feel good. Like, you want to introduce me to people. Like, I'm a part of your future. I think friends and benefits work like that. More times than not, someone gets feelings more than the other person, and then someone might get hurt. But it certainly can work for a while. And like I said, sometimes people grow on you. I think it can only work with only way to get someone back. Only way to get someone back is to be completely over them. Counterintuitive to most people. I would add to that, Clutch. I know where you're coming from. I would say that a lot of times, if you do get someone back and the problems or the issues aren't repaired or at least accepted and worked on, then you're going to break up again. That's what, if I have a book coming out and it was Confessions of a Breakup Coach, I would say that a lot of people are chasing relationships or getting back together without addressing the problems or the issues, just out of loneliness or not wanting to be alone. Or, I'm going to be frank with a lot of you, especially men, revenge. Not all the time. I think, Clutch, you help people in relationships. There's a portion of people out there that their motive is just to hook up and be in control again and be the one to break up with them or be the one to deny them. Is that a good way to go? No. But when you come to me for coaching, I'm not here to tell you what to want or not want. Sometimes you need to go through your own shit to grow up. But that's a common theme. And guys will admit it. Like, honestly, I just want to be able to hook up with her again. And that's it. They want to like prove to their ego. And I'm like, and you know what I say? It's okay. It's okay. Just be honest with yourself. Accept that. That's not going to make you happier, because the thing is, if you hook up with her again, you're going to get entangled again. And she's the one that cares less. And so she's going to rule the roost and you're going to end up getting hurt again, probably. Ricardo says, I chased her too much and she got, bottom line is, you chased her too much or you didn't chase her too much. She was at the door waiting for you to make the wrong move so she could prove to you that she ghosts guys that she does friends with benefits with. That's it. If you would have played this perfectly, she still would have found a way out. That mental block was the key part of the story. She's admitting, I just got this mental block. feel I over pursue text morning daily and she didn't have time to develop feelings and miss me. All right. Like I said, she's 35. She's been doing the same type of relationship over and over again. Do you think it would make a difference if you were morning texting or not morning texting? Yeah. Women like this that are more independent, are more the types to, really develop time. All right, let's put it like this, Ricardo. Let's break it down like this. There are women out there, and if any of you are on the comments right now, go ahead and hop in on this. There are women out there that like a morning text daily. So right? So if that's how you are, if you're texting like you did like 3 times, you need explanation, all that other stuff. No. What happens now is there's so much information on what to do and what not to do in relationships. It's flooded on YouTube. Just like you go to Netflix and you can't make a decision on what to pick. You're like, oh, I did something wrong here. You didn't do something wrong. You found the wrong person to be you. Does that make sense? Because I didn't read in your story. Like I said, when you called 3 times in a day, okay, you're insecure, you're upset. It's the end of the relationship. The most secure people, this will shock you. I've had Navy SEALs. I've had people that are bigwig entrepreneurs and business owners, like people that have huge status. And maybe you have huge status too, Ricardo. I don't know. But they all get, oh, I called her every day. I was crying for, like, you're not way out of character here. And you can just all of a sudden become Fonzie and Joe Cool and be like, oh, yeah, she doesn't want to be with me. No, I'm just not going to call her. I'm going to go straight into no contact. Most people, the first day, ground zero, they might call 2 or 3 times because they want an explanation. Like, what did I do wrong? What went on? Now, like I said, after 2 or 3 days and you start getting your information or you book a session with myself, then you can reconnect. But in that moment, a lot of people do that. And I'll tell people, like, it's all right, man. You already did it. It's done. It's okay. But she wasn't the one. You could have continued another 3 months. You could have continued another 8 months. But guess what? She's rolling the relationship. If you like that, she's going to tell you when you can come over, when you can't come over, when things are too hot, when things are not right. And that's just a bad position to be in a relationship. Now, if you are always in those type of relationships and you like those kind of relationships, fine. But I would ask you this, Ricardo, on a scale of 1 to 10, what was your attraction? On a scale of 1 to 10, what was your connection, like your chemistry? On a scale of 1 to 10, what was your trust? Go ahead and put that in the comments. I won't get back to that. Yep, when they say the one thing where you know it's over, I agree that you didn't do anything wrong, Ricardo. You have to stop letting this girl mess with your self-worth and what you can and can't do correctly. It most likely would have been the same ending in a million different scenarios, regardless of how you acted. Thank you, Chaley. And I don't know if you follow I'm not trying to be nice. I'm not trying to be like, oh yeah, like give you some positive stuff. Sometimes I tell people some stuff I don't like to tell them. But in this particular case, it was inevitable and it's okay. That's what it is. And guess what? Great moment, great intimacy. It's like some people hit me up. They're like, oh, we have trouble in the intimacy department. It's like, that's a whole nother problem. I love astrology so much. Well, I'm an Aquarius. What are you? People ask that. They love astrology, or the Chinese years. I'm the year of the monkey. I was very upfront with him when I brought it up to him. Well, good for you. I mean, it's like long distance relationships, which are different than friends with benefits. There's just an expiration date on them. There's no one that goes like, oh, we've been friends with benefits for, 15 years. 5 years, 10 years. We've been in a long distance relationship for 15 years. Like no one does that. So if it's not going to elevate after 3 months, it's probably not going to elevate at all. And how you start a relationship is usually how it transpires. So if you start a relationship and someone's an alcoholic, they're not going to stop drinking in year 1 or 2. If you start a relationship and someone's broke, they're probably not going to, start making a ton of money in 3 months. So like if you start a relationship at Friends with Benefits and they disclose to you, hey, here's my rules and this is what I've done with past guys, you're next. It's okay. You're still coveted. She still was attracted to you. She still had you over her house. She just had limits to it. And those were her limits. They weren't going to be broke. There was barbed wire up, my friend. Barbed wire hurts. We were Friends with Benefit exclusive, and she said we were dating at some point. Again, she said, I think she just led me on saying one day we will hang out outside, one day we will sleep over daily. But she knew it had expired date. Anyways, the condition she set, no sleepovers, no hangout outside, it would be very difficult to spin it around. Listen, man. The only way that you were going to be with her for a long period of time, if you accept those conditions fully and completely. And that's okay. But it's kind of fucked up if you really think about it, because it's like, all right, who's making all the rules here? I don't know. Good relationships, they're not 50-50, but there are some things that I would like to have a say on. I would bet that she's some kind of manager or business owner, and I could be completely wrong. So correct me if I'm wrong. She's some kind of person that manages people, or she has a high up job where there's a lot of people underneath her, and she's used to telling people what to do and them taking orders. You'll find it's got nothing to do with you or anything you did. But she knew it had expired date, or I don't know what that means. She knew it had expired. If you let her change the way that you are, which sounds like a great guy, then you will be drastically reducing your chances of actually finding someone who appreciates everything about you, behavior someday. Well, thanks for saying some nice things, Shaylee. I haven't seen you on the show before, but that's kind. This is when the live stream's at its best. He's not giving up yet. I like it. Any point to reach out to her in a few months, I'll just look weak. Okay, good question. You can. So this is when you do coaching with me, I like to give you choices and scenarios. Not always scenarios or choices I would do, but let's lay them out so that you're not feeling, oh, that's what I have to do. Because I've heard people, oh, you got to do this, man. You got to do that. The human brain, the adult, whenever you tell someone you have to fucking do something, you resist it. So let's go through the choices. So in a few months, which would be 3 months, okay, you call her up. You reach out, you text, okay? Number 1, check your intentions. If you act and tell friends like, oh, no, I don't care, I'm just going to hit her up. Fuck it. Like, I don't have anything to lose. I've had 2 clients do this. Oh, I'm just going to throw a Hail Mary. You know what a Hail Mary is in NFL football? It's when you're losing the game and there's only like 5 seconds left and there's nothing to lose by throwing up the ball 70 yards to a group of 7 guys and one can catch them. Okay? That's what a Hail Mary is for people that don't know football. Maybe that's lost. I'm just going to throw a Hail Mary. This isn't a Hail Mary situation. Because if you call her up and you still have feelings, so this is one choice. So before you call her up or you text her, because I know people are like, call, I'm going to text. All right, so you're going to text. Number 1, if you're nervous or uncomfortable, I wouldn't do it. Because her reaction, if it's cold or if it's slow, been doing this for a while, folks. People didn't text me for 3 hours. If it's cold, like, oh, I'm okay. and you're nervous and uncomfortable and be like, oh, she doesn't like me, she doesn't want to talk to me. You just brought yourself back to ground zero when you first broke it off with her. You're not ready. Okay? But that's an option. Go ahead and do it. Throw the Hail Mary. Take a chance. The problem is, like I said, you're going to come back to ground zero all over again. Number 2, if you choose to reach out and you're like, wow, I'm doing really good. I've dated some other women. My confidence is back. My gusto's there. I feel great. I look my best. I feel my best. And if she doesn't pick up or she doesn't respond, I could give a fuck. If you're feeling like that, go for it. Number 3, if you're neutral, you're kind of like, oh, I've been feeling better. I'm not even that serious about it. It's been 3 months. You know, I could take it or leave it. Go for it. Now, here's the thing. Ask yourself these scenarios. If she's cold to me, I'm just going to respond, okay. If she's like, yeah, I've been good, and she doesn't ask you how you're doing, don't respond or say okay. If she's like, oh, I've been good, yeah, how have you been? And you guys are just going through the motions, the key is, are you going to ask her out? Because that's going to be your polarized moment. Like, don't sit there in some kind of vague conversation, be passive aggressive, and kind of just like, oh, I don't know if we're friends or not. Because the whole problem with this before, and she's in friends with benefits, but you're in a relationship. You could see the verbiage you use in the thing. So you're on 2 different wavelengths. If this is going to work out for you, she's got to come to you and miss you. From her personality and her mental block, I don't see that happening, and it has nothing to do with you. If you reach out and you go for one of these Hail Marys, maybe you catch her at a moment where she wants to get intimate and hook up, but I'm going to tell you this. In all likelihood, it would be friends with benefits again in the same pattern. Unless she's been seeing therapy about that mental block or figuring out how to overcome that. So, best case scenario, you get back into the same relationship with the same result. Is it weak? No. If you called her 3 or 4 times again, yeah. If you called once and you can accept her being cold or not responding, it's not weak at all. You just showed you changed. But most likely, if this was Vegas and you wanted me to go on odds, I would say the odds are against her based on what you're saying about her background being receptive to that. Yeah, people in these streets are messed the fuck up. Where are you from, Chaley? I haven't seen you on the show before. Just curious. What part of the globe? I have definitely been motivated by revenge in the past. We learn, we grow, we look back, we sigh in self-disappointment when we learn. Man, so many times, guys that are clients in their 20s, it's a big one. Really big on that, like their egos crushed. She used to sit on my lap for hours on the couch, just staring at my eyes. I really thought she was falling for me. But then I started to text daily and showing too much interest, and she pulled back. Well, I mean, how are you supposed to know based on that? You know, some women that were sitting on the couch staring in your eyes would love that you upped the attention. Okay? So maybe she's just not the match. And also I would add, if she was, falling for you, even though you called the 3 times and you overdid the birthday text, leave it alone now. Because if she ever does want to come back, you're a good dude, you treated her well, and she has reason to come back. Now, if you keep being annoying and stuff, then she has more reason to not come back. Ricardo, you're not going to change someone's version of reality. The answer was already there before you enter the picture. Don't confuse her projection with your insecurity. I'd add, Clutch, what happens now, and Ricardo, you can comment on this. I think it's really tough because you go on YouTube, I'm on YouTube, right? And you just get all these perspectives, and then you come across one perspective that says you totally fucked up. And they're like, oh yeah, you have to do this, and this, and then it would have worked. And you never talked to anyone about the specific situation or heard their story. And so in your head, you're like, oh, if I would have done that right, if I would have played it cooler, I would have had it right. Not really. Look, Jaylee's like, I love morning texts more than ever, anything. Now, ironically, I have a friend, And she's been single. She's an attractive woman. She's been single for years. I've known her for 3 or 4 years. She's been single for years. And she's oblivious to the fact that her personality with guys is one that pushes them away. She's too tough. When she gets upset with them, she's almost disgusted with them. And she's like, I hate when guys text me in the morning or ask me how I'm doing. Right there, there's some women that love that. That's the woman that might line up better with you. And the crazy thing, Ricardo, if you meet that woman, you're going to go, oh shit, I wasn't wrong. I just was in the wrong relationship. Okay, I won't reach her again. I'll just work on things think I did wrong, which was over pursuing too many texts, acting like her boyfriend too soon. Before you go to sleep, just go, I forgive myself. And man, if you want to come, do you want to come on the channel right now? You can go audio only. I'll do a tapping thing with you. You've got a lot of anxiety over this. I can bring your anxiety down. It's garbage. So much garbage, Chaley says. All the dating crap that's being taught. I mean, I'm a part of this space right now, but sometimes I go on, I'm like, damn, it's flooded. It's flooded. Clutch, you see what I mean? Now ChatGPT is going to come out. And what people don't realize, these people are characters. They're characters. They're personas. We're all playing a role, per se. But some of these roles that people are playing, it's like, oh, man. I think it's twisted a lot of people up when they get into relationship issues to go online. And they go with good intentions, but you find all this material that you somehow start vibing with that you've messed up. And what you got to get in touch with, and this is probably the best advice I can give, if you're insecure, like get some individual help. Whether that's me at rightmac.com or that's another therapist or a coach, but like get help tailored to who you are, because you're an individual. You're fucking unique, man. There's some things about human nature, feminine, masculine, but like when you get into your insecurities and stuff, they're unique. And those things will help you get to a point where you might handle the next situation better. But this isn't one to chase. This isn't one to chase. And unfortunately, she's used to pivoting out, right? I still have hope she reaches out someday. I really think she liked me. I think she liked you too. I don't question that at all. She hooked up with you. She took you to her best friend's house once. I believe you that she was on your lap. But for her, when she starts to get close with someone, she has a mental block and she gets scared and she pushes them away. That has nothing to do with your moves or your amount of calling her. I've never heard that before, Riflin. You can't overtext the right girl. I don't know. Like, I've definitely had some clients that overtext, and I wouldn't say what you've described is overtexting. I've had clients though that are like they and it's tough because some people are in relationships where they text all day, right? They I'm at lunch right now. Hey, picture of my food, picture of this. That's just how some people are addicted to, using the internet and scrolling all day. Okay, whatever. But what happens is sometimes people are in one relationship where that was what they did, and they get in a new relationship and they're left on red. And I'm like, doesn't your girlfriend work at a hospital at night, 10 hours? Yeah. I'm like, well, how is she going to respond to your texts all the time? Like, there's guys that definitely overtext, right? I think that's a positive comment, and I thank you for that. But there are ones that you just are like, stop. How often do you text? like once every hour, something. We just check in, like, how are you? And they're beside themselves. I'm hoping she comes around, but I think she is dismissive avoidant. Okay, if she could be a dismissive avoidant. That sounds probable. Those are people that you probably won't want to date. But my question for people that always, what is your attachment theory? If you're into attachment theory, what are you? People like to, and this is not a knock on you or anything, Ricardo, so don't take this as a shot or personal. People always, oh, she's this or he's that. What are you? If you know who you are, then you can maybe, and this is what I wanted to talk to Clutch about maybe in a future episode. How, if you're going to learn attachment theory, how can you make it work for you rather than hindsight 2020? Oh, my ex or the person I was with has this. How would you make it work in real time? But I would say it starts with diagnosing who you are, which most people are biased. So they would say, oh, I'm a secure such and such, right? But if she's a dismissive avoidant and you didn't have her face or her body on your mind or her attention, and you were looking at this purely academically or reading it, and you're like, oh, here's anxious attachment, here's dismissive avoidant, here's this, which one would you pick that you'd go, oh, that'd be a good match for me? If it isn't, if you looked at this plainly and she is a dismissive avoidant, would you say, oh, I don't want to be with one of those? Feel me? I didn't change much after the end. Few messages on the first week trying to change your mind, nothing more. Then you're totally fine, bud. I think the idea of neediness and over pursuing is our brain's self-defense mechanism to push the wrong one away. Could be. Could be. I was just, BW, good to see you, bud. I was just telling someone earlier today that I've been doing coaching with for quite a while. And he's, talking about his breakup and whatnot from a long time ago. And he cheated. He apologized for cheating. And then she never came back. And so he's kind of going through, I thought she'd come back because I told the truth and all this other stuff, right? But then he was telling me today, he's like, I didn't tell you the truth. I actually cheated on her multiple times by getting other things other than sex. Well, I don't know what applies to sex. That's why I just say intimacy. Other intimate things or actions regularly were done, but I didn't think they were cheating. Anyways, I said to him, and he goes, I wanted to break up with her so many times. I said, subconsciously, you couldn't break up with her because you were scared of hurting her or hurting yourself. So your brain created actions, your subconscious mind created actions to force you to break up, which was cheating and then telling the truth. And so, yeah, that's the case. Some people are just needy and are needy because that's who they were since they were a kid and they got attention that way. So, if you ask someone how did you get attention from your mom when you were young, or how did you get attention from your dad? If a lot of people won't say they were needy, but some will admit that they were bratty or they got what they wanted, or that by them. Like that when they're around their parents, they tend to be more needy and bratty when they're older. And so because it worked for them. Now, if you're being needy and it feels out of character, like for example, myself, who I know very well, I'm not a needy person in relationships. I've had needy moments because I've been pushed to that moment. Hasn't happened often, but when I'm in that needy moment, I'm like, what is this? This isn't me. There's something wrong here. Like, I don't like this. I'm not used to being in this situation, but everyone's capable, whether they're avoidant, whether they're anxious, whether they're secure, of having needy moments, right? If you have a partner, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, and you're at a dinner party and your girlfriend's what appears to be flirting with the guy she works with, ignoring you for hours at the dinner party, that might spark the most secure guy to feel needy later on, maybe not in public. So that's another spin-off of that. But I would say Ben has something there too. Sometimes it's a self-defense mechanism. Aqua energy is the best. I am a Pisces. Cool. What's up, Justin Brown? How you doing, buddy? Quick question. Blue and peach or pink and purple? For what? My mind just went in two different directions really quick. So what is that in regards to? Anytime I've been on once, you were talking about the Chinese zodiac when I came in that night. I went on live with you for a minute. Oh, okay. It was a while back then. Okay, cool. When you reach out to an ex, you risk regressing back to that child that was abandoned, which is what people deal with during a breakup. If you haven't done the work, you're back to step one. So that I didn't say it so eloquently like my friend Clutch here, who's very good with words, but I would agree. I would call it you're back to ground zero. And you can gauge that if you got those butterflies and uncomfortable feeling, your stomach's like really uncomfortable. That's why I said before you make that call, if you're feeling nervous in that situation, it's probably not a good thing. Now, it just comes to mind that there's a client of mine that did this, that had a kind of a faulty relationship. And I would add, Ricardo, this relationship that you had right here was a little bit faulty because you were in it, whether you admit it or not. This was like a girlfriend to you, and she was like a friends with benefits to you, and you feel misled a little bit. But if you ever get back together, it's going to be a similar storyline. It's going to be same. It's going to be the same. Utah, home of the Utes. She was 35. I'm just curious, Ricardo, because you didn't mention how old you are. And I would ask you this, Ricardo. What is your attachment thing? And then also, are you someone that over your lifespan that has valued monogamous relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, official type things? Or do you like casual friends with benefits? Not what you are teaching. That comment was off your comment about all YouTube and TikTok stuff from people about relationships and how to appropriately act. You are educated and teaching. Chaley's throwing me all over here. Blue, peach, or pink and purple. Not what you are teaching. That comment was off of your comment about, okay, I'm a little confused. I'll get back on. So I'm just going to go with pink and purple. Ben likes that one, I think. From that, not someone that is hurt or whatever else, teaching their toxicity. All right. She probably gets off on ghosting and having them change. Rye, coming from a woman's perspective, someone that's not a coach but shares my birthday. So there's something there. Right, Rye? February 1st. And so I've talked to women before that are like, oh, he accused me of misleading him. Right? Like, oh, and we were just friends. So I've seen all different scenarios doing what I do. So my perspective, this is why you want to send your story into writemac.com. My perspective isn't just coming from, oh yeah, I would do this or I would do that. It's like, no, I've heard people in different scenarios. And I've known and heard women tell me Well, he thought I was leading him on. He made all these assumptions, and I told him from the beginning this, that, and the other. And I told him we were just going to be friends, and I didn't really have feelings. I just talked to someone recently about this. And guess what? I asked her, I go, has anyone else accused you of leading them on? Like, has this happened before? This is a great question to ask when people do this. Not just this topic. They get accused of something, and they're pissed off about it, and you go, have you been accused of this before by other people? And she went, well, when I was younger more, but not now. Why would I ask that? Because if 10 people have told you it, maybe it's true. If 5 people have told you, if this is a reoccurring theme, then maybe it's true that you are misleading. But if this is the first time you've gotten this from someone, then no. It's like I just heard on a podcast yesterday. What did he say? If you're not an asshole if you think someone else is an asshole, but you're an asshole if you think everyone else is an asshole. I don't know if I got that correct. If you think 10 people are assholes, then you're the asshole. Right? It's like sometimes you got to put it in perspective. There's a lot of value because what she's getting out of this, Ricardo, if you're still on here, she's getting control, and she also leaves validated. Like, oh, I never got hurt. And women like this, if it ever, and this is whether you believe in karma or not, everyone gets humbled. Everyone gets humbled. They might not tell you about it or show you it. And someone like this, she'll meet her match. She'll get humbled. Because what she's doing is before you can break up with me, before you can leave me, and she probably has some kind of abandonment issues, is what I'd have to guess. I'm going to leave you so then I don't have to feel that. It's not that you met the wrong person. You met the right person. You met the right person for what you needed in this moment. This isn't spiritual psychology. Learn the lesson or you will repeat it. Oh, we wouldn't want to confuse you with spiritual, Clutch. You wouldn't want that on you, would you? She ended things in a Sunday, Tuesday before. Amazing sex. She cooked for me, dessert, cuddling, all good. So weird. Makes you wonder if she wanted it out because she felt like things were getting real. See? And there's the clarity right there. Okay? Been doing this a long time. You're a male. If you have amazing sex, you'll go through brick walls to get it back. And it doesn't sound like she was crazy, mean, distrustful, but this is what you want back. Right? This is what's confusing you. So on the flip side, women like amazing sex too, and so that might be a reason to come back, but she can do those things and disassociate with long-term commitment. You can do those things and want the commitment. So you're on different wavelengths. Humble enough to know I'm replaceable. Cocky enough to know it's a downgrade. Humble enough to know I'm replaceable. What do you mean by cocky enough to know it's a downgrade? Or what does that mean to you, Chaley? Okay. What color are you going to paint your hair? Okay, pink and purple. Go for it. Thanks, Clutch. It's tough when things don't go as planned in life, huh? That's why people love university. There's structure, there's grading, there's a piece of paper that says you completed it and that you get recognition for it. There's camaraderie, hopefully, with the people that you go to. Well, they're erasing that with online classes a bit. Well, there's certainty to it. Why do you like a job with a paycheck? There's certainty to it. Relationships, unfortunately, sliding Frasers. It's exactly what my point was, though, right? That you think that if you did this, this, and this outcome would happen. And it's not. Some things are inevitable. If someone wants to replace me, then they aren't going to replace me with better. It will be a downgrade. Okay, I didn't take it that way. Cocky enough to know it's a downgrade. Humble enough to know I'm replaceable. Women are always in competition, huh? I'm just curious, the women that are on here today, we got Shaylee, Rye Flynn, maybe a couple others, I don't know. But what do you do? Let's say you break up, and breakups are different times. What do you do when you've broken up and you find out maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe a year later that your boyfriend has a new girlfriend? Do you look that girl up just to see how she looks? Women will admit too, like, oh no, she looks good. Where guys, to me, usually are like, oh, this guy's a loser. I can't believe it. Guys, in my experience, whenever they find out their ex is with some other guy, I've never heard them be like, oh, he's a solid guy. He's a good dude. He's got a good job. They always just, the guy's just such a loser, man. He's been around town for years. He's kind of a creep. Like they always have this, I know who the guy is. Yeah, I know who he is. And women don't seem to be as negative about it, I guess. I think that they really, that's also a different situation. In that case, you're getting replaced. Leandra, how you doing? Been a while. Nice to see you and the regular crew. We got a few new ones. Everyone gets humbled. And it's a good way to look at life too, because when you get humbled, it's a different way to perspective than, oh, this isn't fair, or I got tricked, or I got this. If you really look at your life when you live long enough, I'm at the halfway point myself, is like whatever's happened to you that was bad, like let's just say someone lied to you at work, or I don't know, someone stole from you. If you look at your life, you're like, have I done anything like this before? Maybe you were 7, maybe you were 10, and if you can find one thing that's, sometimes it's so bad that you're like, no, I've never done that to someone before. And that's when people really get pissed, because they're like, I would never do that. But usually when you look, you're like, yeah, when I was in, especially when you're my age, like 42, 41, 40, early 40s, late 40s, whatever, you can look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember I was like that. And you have a little bit more forgiveness or understanding. The girl I was in a situation with showed me pictures of the girls from my gym once, just to tell me about what wasn't good about them. Subconsciously eliminating them from your stable, huh? That's funny. That's funny. And you're smart enough to be like, oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, she'd be, oh, yeah. That's funny. That was recently, or that was while you were seeing each other, Ben? I'm talking about like one of my exes who cheated on me with someone who was definitely not even close to attractive C as me. And I just remember thinking, what the fuck? At least, women are like this. Women are more, if you're going to cheat or you're going to mess around, I'm not speaking for all women, for sure, just in my humble experience. And this isn't directly based on my relationship experience. This is more like as a coach. They are more likely to definitely dress down or dress up the woman and be like, and just in my 5 relationships that have been long-term relationships, the women will ask like, oh, they'll ask about the past girlfriend and they'll want to see a picture and then they'll have an opinion usually. Depends on the type of person someone is, but yeah. Rolling with the punches. I remember I worked with a guy when I was in my early 20s and I was really pissed off about something, like at work. Someone did something wrong. There was a manager or something. He was like, and he was my age now. He's like, hey man, sometimes you just got to roll with the punches. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean, Joe? I get it now. I totally get it. At the time, I was like 19 or 20, I think. 20, yeah. Sometimes you just got to roll with the punches. I'm pissed. It's like, I don't want to hear that. I'm straight. However, I admire other women's beauty. Women are beautiful creatures until they open their mouths 90% of the time. Women who pick other women apart are dealing with their own insecurities. You need to go look in the mirror and say, I love you. That was when we were working together around April. Isn't it funny when you look back at something like that and you're like, you can put it together and you're like, oh, why would you want to tell me that? Why would you want to give me that information? I can't think of any of my exes, people they have dated since me. Weird. I don't care though. Hope they find happiness. As a guy, I can tell you, I don't really want to know if I have an ex and they have a new boyfriend or someone they're seeing. It's not something that I'm interested in. But I have actually this past year ran into an ex-girlfriend and she was with a guy holding hands. And we just kind of made eye contact. And I could tell it was like, I'm not going to say anything and you're not going to say anything. But if she was alone, I'd be like, hey, what's up? How you been? And cordial little catch-up conversation. But I could tell it was like, don't say hello right now. I'm like, don't worry, I won't. Silent communication, eye contact, done. And I don't want to meet the guy. I'm good. No bitterness, no feelings, just cool. No, oh, this guy? Nope. And that's when you know you're really done. You're over it. And I was done a while ago. So it was like, it's a good feeling actually, because you're like, just neutral. And actually, like, hope it works out. Totally fine. But it's funny, you make that, like, don't come over here. Don't make it awkward. It's like, all right, I got you. All silent communication. Got a good mixed bag here today. Well, there you go. There is one. He ended up ghosting me for his chick, actually. And yes, I did look her up. Funny thing is, he just tried to come back. Well, there you go. Cream always rises. Isn't it amazing to think back to if there was a time, it depends on your age range, where you didn't have the internet post breakup? Like, how different is that? Without social media, I think without social media, no contact's easier. It's probably one of the hardest things to do with Facebook, Snapchats. It's so funny because Snapchat stories are big for people. Also going online and getting, is it a good thing that all this advice is available, or does it throw you in different directions? I'm just curious because Ricardo, you're just in the middle of it right now. Ben, you've been in, and you're getting over the hill of it. Like, do you feel like there is too much information shifting you in different directions? Kind of miss those days sometimes. Well, there's no going back. There's no going back. I think that at some point there will be like rehab for people that have social media issues. There probably already is a few where you just go there and you have to play Connect 4 and stuff. They have it a lot for a lot of superstars and music stars end up doing this, where they just got too obsessed. I've had someone else that she doesn't do breakup coaching. She does some kind of other, I'm not going to say what it is, some other kind of advisor type stuff. And she just got totally burnt out on social media, and she had like a pretty big following. It's like 20,000 people on Instagram. I don't know what it was. I'm like, wow, you're doing really well. And then one day she was just off, and I've known her for a while. I text her. I was like, are you all right? Are you just getting into another business, or what did you end up doing? She's like, I just need to take a break. It was just too toxic. It was just exhausting me. The biggest minefield you can enter into, mental minefield of your life, is going online and just checking your ex or your situationship or your person you like's profile, and then going to a friend that liked their post and checking their profile. Unbelievable. Just won't end. It's like being in a spider web, man. All right, folks, anyone have any closing questions here? We got 11 on deck. You are appreciated. If you want to go to writemac.com to book a session, that is available. If you want to send in your story, that would be great too. The rabbit hole, yeah. Got a few more minutes. But like I said, if there's any serious questions you want to ask, or something involving your relationship, throw it on there. Throw it in the comments. The rabbit hole. It's an understatement. It's more than a rabbit hole. It's pictures. I think that's the hardest thing now, is the emotional cheating element, which probably like in the 1950s wasn't even there, right? It's like emotional cheating. What is that? But with text, it's like someone grabs your phone, knows your code, or you leave your phone out, or you leave something on the computer, they go out and check. And you've been flirting with someone online, or what they determine is, or if you sent pictures, and it's just, there's no running away from that evidence. It's so common now that it's big time fights and problems where someone didn't even hook up. They were just kind of talking to someone online. It's lame. I can't even stalk any of my exes on social media because none of them ever post anything. I'm actually friends with every ex other than one. Like, if something happened, I needed help, they would help if they could. Well, there you go. That's a good thing. What's up, Rob? You're a little late, but it's always okay to see you, bud. What's your opinion on age difference in dating? I think it's fine. I think that there are certain age brackets that provide a difference. So obviously, if it's 25 years or 30 years, what people don't realize is there's a trade-off. So every relationship has a trade-off. You've heard me say this many times. But, right, in most cases, if the guy's 60 and the woman's 30, well, then he probably is rich. Let's just be honest. Now, if he looks really good for his age, all right, that's a good one. Maybe that'll, or maybe the woman's just, or the woman's looking for a visa or something like that. A lot of times when it's a huge age gap, I find that there's a trade-off there that's beyond attraction and connection. And if you're okay with that, fine. You're also, the bigger the age gap, the more likely someone's going to age themselves out of the relationship, right? So, a while back, someone was in like a 30-year age gap, and they were like, oh my God, he got so old quick, and I don't know what happened. And now he's, he can't even get around anymore. He's 75, and I just turned 40. And I'm like, I didn't do it for the visa. It's like, well, I didn't ask you that, so that's what you did it for. It's okay. It's up to you. So the age gap also, if you're with someone that's like 21, 22, there's a lot of growth going from 21 to 28, right? So the maturity level of a person in that age range, whether you're so like someone that's 20 and they're with someone 32, that's only 12 years, right? But 32-year-old's maturity is going to be how much higher, right? I had a client before that was 21 and she married her husband at 35, and she said it was great. And then he had some health problems that affected their relationship intimacy and stuff like that. And, here she is 35 and she can't get intimate with her husband because of that age difference. So, but she was happy and she loves him. So sometimes it can work. I would say that I wouldn't set a limit to it for people. I wouldn't say, oh, you can't do it if it's 15 years or 18 years. 20 years is pretty, someone's doing it for the money or the status or something else outside of that, right? They wouldn't be with someone 20 years older if there wasn't a major trade-off. I'm sorry. And that's okay, as long as both people know that, right? It's okay, but it's not. And they're also more likely to have the other person that's younger cheat on them. So I would say 10 to 15 years is doable. I'd say, 10 years is not a problem, especially if you're 40 and they're 30. That's like similar life experience. That's a nice little sweet spot. 40 and 50, that's fine, right? You get to 15, 17 years, something like that, you're on the border of it, and you're upping the chances of it not working out. There's enough problems in relationships otherwise. And what I find, most of the time it's an older man with a younger woman. And what happens is women are already emotional creatures, or humans, more emotional than men. And I would say people that are younger, just overall, not women and men, but women that are in their 20s, they're just more impulsive, less patient with things. So guys that I've known that have been in their 40s dating a woman in their mid to late 20s, they always have issues with political stuff, with like, oh, I made this comment and she just went off and she was so sensitive about what she said. That's generational humor. So a guy that's like 45 and he's joking around with a woman that's 27, she might not have the same sense of humor, right? So that's part of it. And I would say that the younger person has the ability to dip out or get out of the relationship easier and pivot into a new relationship with someone of their age or older again, where the guy that's older, and this is what I find, if a guy's older, and there was a guy that used to come on here a lot, he doesn't come on here anymore, and he was, I think, late 40s, and he was dating what he said was like a knockout, beautiful woman that was like 28, 29 for like 3 or 4 years. And she broke up with him, and he was just beside himself, blaming her. And, I look young for my age. Bottom line was, he was never long-term to her. She was very attractive, was what he said. And they ran their time. And she was also wanting him to buy her a condo. Surprise, surprise. This didn't come out till like one of our coaching sessions. And soon after he didn't buy the condo, she didn't stay with him. And so you just have those things come up. I don't think they're bad. I think they can work. It's just people have to be honest about the trade-off and what someone's getting in that. I think a sweet spot for a relationship, 5-year age difference, not so bad. 10 years, doable. And women like guys that are more mature. Guys mature later usually. And so they like men that are older. So it's certainly possible. Al Pacino, I don't know what the age difference is on that, but that's just one thing about attraction, status and money. They're going to up your attraction level. If you're famous, it's, you're just opening up the floodgates that some people are really attracted to that. So that's a special circumstance. Rich men that, I didn't even know this till a few years ago, that there's all these sugar daddy sites where women literally go on there and they're going for older men that have money, and it's just all up front. And guess what? Those relationships end up with someone pissed off. So you just have to know what you're accepting. A lot of times the guys, this is the funny thing. I don't know if it's funny to the guys that are in their like 50s, 60s, and they end up with a girl that's 25 to 35, and they somehow sold it to themselves that they're special and that this woman really wants to be with them. And, when in reality, it's about money or security. Who's taking advantage of who? So a lot of times they're getting manipulated and they get really upset at the end, but they made their own bed. So the age difference thing, it can work. It's just when you get these 15, 20-year age differences, and the guy, like I said, the guys are very frustrated. I've had guys write me letters, and they always do this. I look young for my age. I look good for my age. I believe you. I think I look good for my age too. I think I look young for my age too. It doesn't take away that you are your age, right? So they want to validate that. The other thing to it is the person that's older, no matter how secure they are, they're a little bit insecure about the age difference. They think about it. And so when something goes wrong, they overcompensate. Just my take. That being said, if someone's in a relationship and they're got a big age gap, I'm like, good for you, go for it. I would never say like, oh, it'll never work or anything like that. Just know the trade-off, because there's a trade-off there. Remember me your age, Mac? I don't understand. Remember me your age, Mac? Remind me your age? Is that what you want to ask? What's your opinion on age difference on dating? Okay, that's a good question, Shaylee. That was a bit long-winded, but that's what this show is, right? I was a bit late. Was at a nightclub? Okay, cool, man. You want to come on and show us what you were wearing at the nightclub? I can give you the link. I was at a nightclub. Just saying. There you go, Rob. So a visa is a trade-off thing that seems to be a short-term thing. Not necessarily, because that particular one, you're dealing with different cultures. So some of them, they'll stay with the guy till he dies, because guess what? There's another trade-off. Sounds brutal, right? But if you're going to go all in on trade-offs, and I'm not talking about anyone particular or anything like that, I'm just saying this is one scenario. If you're going for the visa, why would you get a divorce and not get the inheritance? Visa to citizenship likely means once that the citizenship happens, the relationship is over. Not always. And there can be situations where they have something worked out and they're like this woman that contacted me. She's not breaking up with the guy, but she sees that basically she's preparing herself. He's got a few years left. It sounds like he's, got home care and all this stuff. And I'm not being insensitive. This is just what was told to me. This is not me like making a joke out of this. She was getting ready to be single and snag another fish, right? Oh, I don't know what happened. He got old so quick. I was like, you guys are 30 years plus apart. People believe what they want to believe. There seems to be a different animal. Well, the woman is 30 and 40 and the guy is 20 and 30. I think there's a difference in maturity there. Okay. So, and also people in their 20s overall, if you're not in your 20s right now and you remember your 20s, you're just learning a lot about yourself. You're more impulsive. You're less likely to make a decision for your future and those kinds of things. And I would add, anyone dating someone that they find highly attractive, whether you find your boyfriend highly attractive or your girlfriend highly attractive, and you know that other parts of the population find them highly attractive, if you know what I mean, you're going to deal with a little bit of insecurity. And you're going to have to go through that, or how to live with that they're getting a lot of attention. If you're 15 years older, it's I think that there's more insecurity to that. And someone out there is like, oh, you're just talking, one thing about the world now, if someone has a lot of money, it can trump a lot of things. Doesn't mean they don't still have bad relationships. She's shady. She probably was trying to get him to buy the condo and was planning on leaving him after that, did anyways. And if he would have, I mean, it's one of those things though, when he talked to me and we did a live coaching session, and it was funny because he came on quite a bit and made all these different comments. I'm like, well, let's do a coaching session. And he was like, oh, well, I'll support you and where you live. He made some kind of smart ass comment about supporting my life in Thailand or something like that. And I was like, what? Like, you're the one that's coming on here for breakup advice all the time and stuff. I'm just saying, if you want to book a session, we can get a little deeper on it. And so we did. And he was like, wow, I've gone to a couple other people and that was really good. Cause I told him, I'll give you a refund if you don't like it. And when we broke it down, the woman, her past and who she was, the writing was on the wall that she wasn't going to be with him forever. And it had nothing to do with, she had done this before, dated older guys. She was really good looking and wasn't someone that stayed with guys long. And she dated guys that had money. So 42, May. I'm 42. Surprised by it myself sometimes. Just got off my fishing boat. You got your waders on? Man, I remember first wearing waders when I was a little kid. I hated those things. There's 53 years between Al and his partner, who just had a baby. He's the new Hugh Hefner. Wow, they had a baby. There must have been, wow. Well, I mean, that's a special scenario, right? Is he 80 something? I would just be curious if that was regular intercourse, or did they, put it in a bottle or something. I wasn't wearing anything special except my watch and possibly shoes. Meaning your watch was special? Okay. Little night at the Roxbury's. Longevity with security. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I'd make fun of those kind of relationships or be like, oh, yeah. It's like, I get it. That there's some women that want to be taken care of, and it's a trade-off, right? And hopefully they really value, and some women, they value older men because they feel secure. They feel like they're more mature. They've had some more relationships. And this is the crazy thing. Some women have been in relationships where they've had their heart broken, where the guy cheated, or The guy was always in and out of jobs. And so they meet some guy that's older, that's more secure, that's more mature about his outlook, and it's attractive to them. The only problem is that, like I said, sometimes when you have like 2 decades, sometimes the outlooks on politics or it just comes to mind this one guy, I've talked about it before, that he just said something like kind of dirty joke in a text. And the woman just went off like, I can't believe you said that to me. I can't believe you talked to me. And he was like, what? And to him, he was just, play talking. And it was just a generational gap in the way people talk to each other, I guess. 20-year-old influencer on YouTube might think differently. Leandra's sequel, only to realize it later. Yes, I was right. Too hot for waiters. Regular intercourse, or she stole it. I think at that age, that guy was shooting blanks. Who knows? I don't know how that would work, but it's just an interesting question, right? There will never be enough GHB for me to be in a relationship with someone for the money. Never say never. I've said my age quite a few times on here. I wonder if there is any case that a 30-year-old woman got her heart broken by make it old enough to be her grandfather. If so, I would find that very strange. I wonder if there's any case that a 30-year-old woman got her heart broken by there's a lot of people who live in the world. There's probably one. Scenarios like that are possible. I'm very confident in saying never. Never say never. Who knows? Clint Eastwood's a sire. I think he's 92 with about 7 kids from 5 or 6 different women. I think he had his last one in his 60s from some newscaster, some random newscaster or something that interviewed him. And he slid one by the goalie. Only the bank account of the older man was no longer accessible by standard ATM. So what about this? There are some men out there that date older women that make money. Kept men. It's possible. Music is back. Is that to spite me? No, not at all. Just felt like it today. Maybe the goalie just let it in free. Who knows, man? I don't know if you guys, the Rational Male talks about this in his book, or Rollo Tomassi that wrote that book, that this will be an interesting story because a lot of people already know this if they've read the book or have seen it. But in the NBA, which is it National Basketball Association? In the NBA, where the players make a lot of money, they're giving out $250 million contracts for 5 years right now to guys that aren't the best players in the league. It's crazy. It's unbelievable what guys make right now, but good for them. Hope they set up a lot of charity work. So this is supposed to be true. This isn't like not true. They told the guys in the NBA, when you get to the NBA, make sure that you are flushing your condoms down the toilet, because there's been reports of women that regularly are taking the condoms out of the garbage can, trash can, maybe off the bed, because not everyone just throws it in the trash can afterwards, right? maybe off the bed or off the ground, and they're impregnating themselves. That was a storyline that went out. So it was crazy because there's kind of this stigma, or there's a lot of guys in the league that there's multiple guys that have 7, 8, 9 kids with multiple women. I don't know if it can be contributed to that, but in the book Rational Male, they had to give out a memo to NBA players to be careful of this. If you think about it, it's possible too, right? Women, I could just see the women on the live stream right now cringing, like, ugh. See, I don't know. That's gross, man. A rapper puts hot sauce in his condoms afterwards. I don't know that. I don't know, but I'm just saying that was in the Rational Male, and it was supposed to be a memo to NBA players, right? So insane. It's absolutely possible, right? Like when you think about it, you're like, wait a minute. And these women, like they have groupies, right? They have women that probably hang out at the hotels regularly or whatever. Maybe a bit of vodka in that Magnum. What? Ugh. Just flush them, guys. Don't try to hurt people. But yeah, that was a story. And, stuff like that happens, I guess. I don't think it's a friends with benefits problem. But yeah, well, I wouldn't, anyone that makes music or something, sperm stays alive for about 8 days. Thanks for that, Chaley. Quote of the day. Fun fact. I'm going to start including that in my show. Fun fact of the day. Sperm. Does anyone know how long sperm stays alive? Or why ants are so attracted to it? Why are there so many ants in your garbage can? Unbelievable. What people will do for a long-term relationship, huh? It's for the live stream goes off the rails here. Oh, we got 13 on deck. If anyone has a question that came in here late about friends with benefits, how do you make it work? Real stories unpacked. We already went through the story. Just to recap a little bit, I know some of the people came on late. 15 on deck. If someone, like I said, wants to ask a question about their relationship, go ahead and throw it in there. Why it works. Intimacy without commitment. Some people like that. Number 2, it's better than a random, which was mentioned by someone in this live stream today. Number 3, some people are not interested in a full-time relationship for a variety of reasons. One could be a past trauma. One could be that they were just out of a relationship. So like I mentioned earlier, it's good to know why they're not wanting this. Number 4, be upfront in the beginning with rules of engagement. So if you're gonna make it work, you need to be strictly upfront. Like, this is how it's gonna be. I don't want anything else. This is how I ride. Number 5, there will be a pattern here. So probably with a friends with benefits, in order to control the situation, there'll be less spontaneity and more, hey, we're going to meet this day and this day every week, and we probably aren't going to go out in public. The person controlling that is controlling the friends with benefits. The person not in control usually is the one that wants more. Not always, but a lot of times. Number 6, know why and accept that. Number 7, if you don't normally do friends with benefits, they do, you will probably get feelings. So just know that going in, that if you're not experienced with friends with benefits and you like having a girlfriend or monogamous relationship, you're probably going to get feelings at some point. If they like friends with benefits, they're totally fine with it. Why it doesn't work, you are holding place for a better candidate. So not always, but sometimes. Number 2, who cares less will leave. Number 3, do they think they can do better and you think they are great? So, people and friends with benefits, sometimes they're like, I don't want to commit to you because I can actually do better. They don't say that, but that's what they're thinking sometimes. Number 4, it will end at some point. There's no one out there that's been in 5-year friends with benefits relationships that I know of. You get disappointed that you couldn't make it more. Number 6, you feel misled or missed signals, when in reality, if you were told friends with benefits from the get-go, you made your own bed. Are there certain things that a person can do to prolong the friends with benefits to maintain the situation so no one doesn't end it for another or want a real relationship from it? No, I don't think there's a one size fits all. I don't think that, if you do this, this, and this, I think that you need to know why the person's doing it from the get-go. And if there's someone like we talked about earlier today, that's what they do, that's what they really like, they're promiscuous, they like having the option to go out with other people, then they're probably not going to come around. If it's something that they just got out of a long-term relationship and they're a little gun shy, they're a little bit uncomfortable just being locked down, then maybe they'll come around because they've been in other monogamous relationships before and liked them. But honoring whatever rules of engagement you have, not pushing it. Certainly, if you have good intimacy, that will add. And if you guys are attracted to each other, that'll add. If someone's keeping you away from being in public situations, and then when you're out in public going, oh, this is just my friend, if that hurts you or upsets you, then you know that you're probably being unhonest with yourself. You're not being true to yourself, and eventually you're going to get hurt, because what they're saying is, I don't want to claim you. I've had clients like that, and I'm like, look, you think you're dating, even though you agreed to this situation, and they look at it like, well, I'm not going to introduce you as anything else but my friend. So that's a big telltale. But I would say to maintain the situation is to accept what it is. And the benefit is the intimacy. If there's other benefits, I don't know what those are. Identify those and make sure those are going well. And definitely don't be pushy. My day's been excellent. Thank you if that was for me. Otherwise, 13 on deck here. It's been a pleasure. It's been good. It's been grand. It's lunchtime for me. It's 2:27 p.m. where I'm at in the world. But if you'd like to go to rightmac.com, book a live coaching session. If you don't find that session useful or helpful, I'll give you a refund. If you want to send in your story, that's available too. Otherwise, throw a like. If you don't want to throw a like, don't throw a like. Thanks, Chaley. Thanks for coming on today. And I will say this one more time. Pink and purple. It's curtains.